Let's look at the fine placed on Channels TV by the Nigeria Broadcast Service, NBC. This isn't the first time, of course, they would be placing sanctions on television or media organizations who flout some of their rules. But, you know, there have been questions as regards how they got to that. Was it 5 million naira now that they placed as a fine for the television station? But even if we were going to look at it holistically, Professor Wole Soyinka, of course, made that statement and said it was misconstrued by Channels TV. But that fine was not as a result of that statement. I think it was as a result of the Vice President, Dati Baba Ahmed. But Dati Baba Ahmed didn't just appear on Channels TV. He also appeared on Arise TV and made the same statement. But we didn't see any fine attached or, you know, being placed on that particular television station.
Nigeria is a country of inconsistencies. All right? The law that applies to A
should apply to B.
Mark you, might not apply to B. And at the end of the day, they'll be telling you about technicalities and then leaving the substantiality. All right? So when that one happened, I like the responses of some people. That while this government was in opposition, was it not using the press? Was the press ever gagged? To the extent of even calling the city president a moron.
Clueless.
Clueless. We see our records of them mentioning it on national TV, on radio stations. But Jonathan was, I mean, you can see a kind of relationship from what I said earlier to what it is now. Now, you are not yet in government. You have not been sworn in. You are doing this. Doesn't mean that by the time you are being sworn in, you will gag everybody not to talk. Thank God Fela had said it. Oh, you cannot close my mouth.
We saw something similar some few months ago when they shut down Twitter.
Even listen to this.
Expressing
they are now
themselves.
talking about, some people are talking about ING, interim national government. But while you were in opposition, you said, through this same Lai Mohammed, the chairman of APC then, what's his name?
Was it Adam Soshomole?
No.
Adamu.
That Baba from Edo. That Edo man.
Adam Soshomole.
No. Former governor. Who was former governor?
Okay.
Said, I will remember his name now. Said, they will form a parallel government if they are being rigged out of that election. Why are you procrastinating that you be rigged out? And then you come up with a parallel. Do you know what it is to say you want to come up with parallel government? Do you know what it is? That one is even grievous than talking about ING. Because who are the people talking about ING? Civilian.
We even heard a comment from President Muhammad Buhari, who talked about baboons and dogs.
Do you understand?
And,
can civilians take over government? Can a civilian go and stop the court from adjudicating on the election malpractices that have been taken there? Can a civilian go to Aso Rock and say, Buhari, leave that place, I want to? No. It's only those that has that opportunity to hold on to barrel of the gun that can do it. They can do it. And you are now just diverting people's attention. But then, when you were talking about how do I put it again now? Parallel government. Nobody talk. Now you are now finding Channels TV because of the comment of a particular guest. So are you now harassing Okibaloye from what might happen in future? No, we can look at it from that angle. But because we know that we are in season film now in Nigeria. We are in season film. Some things will be unfolding.
But you know, you mentioned the fact that the press also has to be careful when it comes to sensationalizing statements or putting headlines that do not tally with the
what
body
you are saying,
of, you know, of
yeah.
the
But
editorial.
what happened? What happened on channels? Was it not real? What they were discussing? Was it not an imagined issue? It's just like we now discussing.
You know, Professor Wale Soyinka also made some allusions to that particular comment of the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Dati Ahmed, saying that some of the things he said were unconstitutional and that it could heat up the polity, talking about the unconstitutionality of the president-elect, talking about some of the processes.
Okay, Omobalale, wait. Let us even look at constitutionality. Let us leave the process. Those two areas. According to the electoral laws and the constitution of our country, can a candidate contest for two positions at the same time?
The law doesn't allow that.
Does the law allow it?
No.
Then again, what does the law say as regards Federal Capital Territory and the states? How many states do you have in Nigeria?
But
if your child,
the case is already in court, let the court decide.
Nobody is saying the court should not decide. Does that mean we cannot discuss?
He was addressing the fact that Yusuf Dati Ahmed went on national TV and then kept saying that the judiciary should not swear in you know, the president-elect. The president shouldn't swear him in come May 29th.
Okay, listen to this.
That was
now listen to this.
That
is saying that. Is it the judiciary? Is it the judiciary? Is it the I mean, does it belong to
the bench?
The bench? No. Can it dictate to the chief judge? No. But he can advise. He can advise that based on this, he should do this. These are the likely concomitant effects. So for us not to have this, please don't do this. So it's now left for the judge to look at it and say, okay, look at what Baba first said. I was on a platform on Monday and they brought what Baba first said a year or 2 years ago. I said, what that Baba said, is it not playing out now? Explain now, because you see, I will interpret again in English. When tọmọdé méjì bá ń gégi nínú igbó, àgbàlagbà ló mọ ibi tó máa wó sí.
Okay, that's simple enough.
That is, when two children are cutting Iroko tree in the bush, it is the elderly fellow that knows where that tree will fall to, whether to the east, south, north, or west. Again, in my own Ekiti, where I come from, I will interpret for you again, okay? I will be ọmọdé bá gugi ìrókò nkàgbàlagbà kó jókòó sọ̀rọ̀ òtítà bá rí ọmọdé ní yọrí. That is a child. Let him even climb Nitel building. Nitel. Then it was Iroko tree that was the tallest, but then we now have Nitel. Nitel building. Whatever an elderly man sitting on Otita. Otita is that small box that they normally sit on. You know, it's very low. Whatever that elderly man is seeing, the boy that had climbed that place will never see it. So when some of us are talking with insight, there's difference between foresight and insight. Foresight, you are just looking. You are seeing it. But to what extent are you able to do a costly analysis, evaluation, assessment of what you are seeing, to be able to predict if this is this will happen because of what I envisioned in the past? I don't know whether you understand. So when those of us with insight are talking, they will look at it as if we are playing to the gallery, which is which is now. Look at since when we have been talking about modular refinery. I'm not a petroleum engineer, but I can tell you on my fingerprints, on my fingertips, a lot about modular refineries. A lot about other refineries, because I studied it on my own to be able to tell the government that it is better we have our refineries working than going abroad to go and be refining. It's just like I'm in Lagos. I like Panediam as an Ekiti man. Instead of me to kuku buy motor when I'm coming from Ekiti, from Ijebu Express there, and then be pounding my yam here, and I decide to be going to Ekiti to be pounding the yam there. Okay, 1, transportation cost. 2, risk. 3, by the time he gets here, it won't be Panediam again. At the Dinya Kase. That is spoiled, already fermented Panediam. It will be fresh again. Do you understand? And these are the things, these are the simple analogy that we have been using for government over the years, but they will never listen. Why? Why? Because they are highly self-motivated.
Let's look at the statement of the Independent Broadcasting Association of Nigeria, that's IBAN. They are seeking clarification from the NBC, asking for the terms or the premises on which they have based the 5 million. Independent Broadcasting Association of Nigeria. It's an arm of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria. IBAN.
IBAN. Oh, I thought you were saying iBrand. I would say
So they are asking for clarifications from the NBC, that's the National Broadcasting Commission, on how they reached the decision to slam that 5 million naira fine on channels. And of course, they are saying that looking at the NBC code, the broadcasting code, that there is no clarification as to the procedure on the course of action when broadcasters are notified that they have breached any broadcast code or regulation, that it's not clearly stated in the law. So how did they come to that 5 million naira?
So that means even NBC have been existing without the necessary procedural ideals. Okay, so
they have a code, they have an act too.
Yeah, they have a code, they have an act, and the code supposed to have also stipulate how to arrive at some conclusions. All right, the code supposed to have, it's just like EFCC, NBC to broadcasting stations. It's like also EFCC to financial malpractices. They have their code and they have their processes and procedure. Before you can arrest somebody on a particular thing, 1, you must have done your investigation. After doing your investigation, you let the person know. And the next thing is you charge the person to court. And then the court will start its own procedure on it before either acquitting the person or punishing the person. And before you punish somebody, there are also rules and regulations that guides the court. And then the kind of punishment you give to such a person. Everything has been stipulated.
Is the NBC answerable to anybody, any organization that should regulate all of these issues and be able to say, well,
I think NBC should be under Ministry of Information. NBC should be under Ministry of Information. And then
was that ministry playing that role of regulating and ensuring that you're not just placing a sanction on a station because
I say in Nigeria we are in total system collapse. Who tell me which system in this country is working? Is it education? Is it health? Is it agric? Is it financial? CBN, cash crunch,
judiciary.
Don't let me go to judiciary.